Hi everyone, Sheri Richerson here from experimentalhomesteader.com and exoticgardening.com. Before we get started, I want to share that I did receive this CobraHead Broadfork for free in exchange for my honest review. All opinions you hear in this video are our own, and if you'd like to check it out for yourself, you can use my discount code EXOTICGARDENING for 10% off. You'll find that link down in the video description. So what exactly is a broadfork, and why would you want one on your homestead or in your garden? The CobraHead Broadfork is designed to loosen and aerate compacted soil without destroying the natural layers underground, which is really important for soil structure and healthy roots. You can also use it as a weeding tool or even for harvesting root crops like potatoes or carrots. It's not meant to break through rock-hard clay or solid hardpan on its own. CobraHead actually recommends using a tiller or mattock first in extremely compacted ground. But once the soil's been opened up, this tool is fantastic for keeping it loose year after year, especially in no-till or low-till systems. Once the soil has been opened up, the broadfork keeps it healthy for years, kind of like giving your garden its annual chiropractic adjustment. Assembly is straightforward. You just insert the flat end of each handle into the base, align the holes, and tighten it down with a 1-2-inch wrench. Mine came pre-assembled, which I really appreciated. I like that the handles are strong but have some flex to them. CobraHead says they'll bend quite a bit before breaking, and that flex actually helps guide you on how deep to go. If the handles flex too much, the soil might be too hard or too dry to fork safely. That's a good sign to water or amend first before you go any deeper. Here's Jeffrey Rhoades putting the CobraHead Broadfork to work. We're tackling one of our large vegetable garden plots that's had serious clay issues for years. The drought hasn't helped either. The soil is tight and crusted, even though we've added compost and amendments and tilled in the past. We've even raised pigs in this area and thought their rooting might help loosen things up or take care of the thistle problem. It helped a little, but not enough. Still, I was impressed that we could get the tines in with a little effort. Jeffrey worked in sections, stepping on the crossbar to push the tines in, then rocking the handles back to lift the soil. You can see how it loosens the ground without flipping it over, and that's key for no-till gardening. He first worked horizontally across the bed, then turned and came back vertically to help break through the hardpan layer underneath. I could actually see the difference with each pass. The first few pushes took effort, but as he crossed back over, the tines sank in easier and easier. You could literally watch the soil relaxing, almost breathing again. That's one of the things I love about this tool. It teaches you to read your soil. You can feel resistance, hear that satisfying crackle as the layers separate, and know exactly when the earth has had enough for one pass. CobraHead recommends wearing boots or shoes with a hard sole when using it. No soft shoes or sandals. That's because you need solid footing when pressing down on the crossbar. Soft shoes can twist or slip, and this is definitely a plant your feet and use your legs kind of job. Once Jeffrey found his rhythm, step, rock, lift, move a foot back, it became almost meditative. The broadfork glided in more smoothly each time, showing how quickly soil structure can improve, even within a single session. Of course, I had to give it a try myself. It's not what I'd call easy in our heavy clay soil, but it was absolutely manageable. And it's one of those jobs where you can feel the difference immediately. I could tell this tool is going to make a huge difference over time as we keep improving our soil. The more organic matter we add, compost, straw, or barn cleanings from this past spring, the looser and more workable the ground becomes. You can feel it lifting and aerating, not tearing or mixing. That's what makes it such a great long-term investment for soil health. You can tell instantly which spots have better texture. The fork just sinks right in. In the tighter clay, it resists a little more, but you can sense the progress every time. Let's talk a little bit about what's actually going on down there, because if you've ever tried to plant something and wondered why the roots just won't take off, this is probably the reason. Over time, heavy rain, foot traffic, the weight of the tiller, and livestock can press the top few inches of soil tighter and tighter. Every time the tiller passes, every time we walk across a bed or even let the animals graze, the weight pushes the air right out of the soil pores. Just below that, a layer called hardpan can form, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a dense, almost cement-like layer that's airless and nearly waterproof. When water hits it, instead of soaking in, it runs sideways or puddles. And because there's no air, roots can't breathe or grow through it. So the plant stays shallow-rooted, and in dry spells like we've had this year, they dry out fast. The top couple inches turn into dust, but the water underneath can't rise up because that hardpan layer acts like a wall. That's where a broadfork really shines. When you push those tines down and gently rock the handles back, you're not just poking holes. You're lifting and fracturing that dense layer in a way that opens natural pathways for air and moisture to move again. You're creating tiny tunnels that go deep into the soil, like giving your garden lungs so it can finally breathe. Once those air pockets open, microorganisms wake up, worms start moving through again, and roots can stretch deeper. Over time, that living activity rebuilds the soil structure from the inside out. You don't have to fix it all in one day either. Every time you broad fork a section, you're healing that ground just a little bit more. And in just a few sessions, you can reverse years of compaction naturally without disturbing the beneficial layers your soil has worked so hard to build. It's quiet work, but it's powerful. You can almost feel the earth exhale when you're done. This year has been such a dry one, and you can really tell when you try to work the soil. It's hard, crusty, and almost lifeless on top, the kind of ground that makes every step feel like you're walking on brick. Even when we've added compost and amendments, it's incredible how quickly that moisture disappears when there's no steady rain. Drought doesn't just make soil dry, it actually changes the structure of it. Without consistent moisture, the microscopic life underground slows down or even goes dormant. The beneficial fungi and bacteria that normally help break down organic matter can't function well without water, so the soil loses some of its natural glue. That's what causes those fine cracks you see spreading across the surface. The soil particles shrink and pull apart, leaving gaps that make it even harder for water to soak in when it finally does rain. I noticed that once Jeffrey started breaking things up with the broad fork, the ground loosened just enough to breathe again. The tines opened up deep channels that will help the next rainfall reach those lower layers instead of pooling on the surface or running off into the paths. Those deep air pockets the broadfork creates are like tiny underground rain barrels. They don't look like much, but they hold on to moisture longer, giving roots a chance to draw from it between rains. And because the soil isn't compacted, that water spreads more evenly instead of getting trapped in one spot. Over time, this kind of gentle aeration helps restore the soil's sponge-like quality, the ability to absorb and retain moisture without becoming waterlogged. That's one of the biggest differences between soil that survives a drought and soil that turns to dust. So even in a tough year like this, I see the broadfork as a long-term investment in soil health. It's not just about getting through the dry season, it's about preparing the garden to handle whatever nature throws at us next. When the rains finally do come again, the ground we've worked will soak it up, store it deep, and feed the plants from below instead of losing it all to evaporation. It's amazing how small changes in soil structure, just a few passes with a good tool, can have such a big impact in a season like this. Drought reminds us that patience, persistence, and a focus on building the soil always pay off. The results might not show overnight, but they build a foundation that will support every harvest in the years ahead. Now, some of you might be wondering, why use a broad fork instead of just pulling out the tiller? Don't get me wrong, tillers have their place, but they also destroy the soil web every time they chop and flip. The broad fork loosens without mixing. Earthworms and microorganisms stay close to where they belong. Plus, there's no fuel, no noise, no fumes, just you, the tool, and the rhythm of the work. On a homestead where sustainability matters, that's a big win. I love that it gives me control. I can choose how deep to go and stop when the soil starts to open up naturally. Over time, I'll need the tiller less and less, maybe not at all. After using the broad fork, it's the perfect time to add compost or organic amendments. Those freshly opened air channels help pull nutrients down where roots can actually reach them. For this bed, I'll be adding compost and barn cleanings from this past spring before planting strawberries. The combination of forked soil and that organic matter should give the plants a fantastic start. If you're working with clay like we are, the more you feed your soil after aerating, the easier each season gets and the better your harvests become. Each time we use the broad fork, we're creating deeper channels for roots and water, building long-term resilience instead of fighting the ground every season. After you're done, clean the fork so rust doesn't build up. CobraHead recommends wiping it with a slightly oiled cloth and oiling the handles at least once a year. Linseed oil is great, but any good wood oil will work fine. Keep it stored dry and it'll last for decades. Overall, I'm really happy to have the CobraHead Broadfork as part of our homestead tool lineup. It's sturdy, well-made, and ideal for anyone who wants to build healthier soil without relying on gas-powered tillers. Again, big thanks to CobraHead for sending it my way. Don't forget, if you'd like to get your own, you can use my discount code EXOTICGARDENING for 10% off at CobraHead.com. The link's in the video description below. And now I'll turn it over to Jeffrey so he can share his thoughts after giving the CobraHead Broadfork a real workout in our garden.
So we have our CobraHead Broadfork here, and while it's designed to be real easy, our soil is not cooperative. This is an area of our garden. We've actually been tilling this for years, but we're trying to get away from tilling it. We're trying to get to a no-till. That's part of why we have the Broadfork. It's supposed to be where you step, shift, and just work back and forth. But our ground, I've learned I've got to rock it back and forth as I step, because we have clay, we have rock, which I think is what I'm hitting over here. But we're definitely getting better depth with the Broadfork than what I was getting with the tiller. And I definitely am liking this. I definitely think this is going to help me out in the long run. But I just have to step and put pressure, rock it, put pressure, just move back and forth until I can get to the depth that I actually want. But by using this method, I actually can get the depth I want, because you're supposed to be able to take this down to the crossbar like that, and then I can turn it over and get that nice big chunk to come up, and there's the rock that I was hitting. So this is the CobraHead Broadfork. I like this design. I like this Broadfork. I was using it and getting some good work out of it. It has nice round tines to it for penetration into the ground. The design here is through the crossbar, so it's welded on this side of the crossbar coming through, which gives it some really good strength. The handles are very nice. They're anchored on here really well. Total weight is about 14 pounds, so a little bit of weight, but not bad. After a bit of work, it starts getting heavy, but it's still lightweight enough to really be able to use well. And our soil is horrible. We've got a lot of clay, so it is taking more effort to get into the soil and get through the clay, but I figured it out. I'm really enjoying this, even though it's a workout. It is, I think, going to really help us renovate our garden, our property. It's going to be really nice inside the tunnel houses that we have, because once the tunnel houses are up, you can't get a tiller in. I can work inside of a tunnel house without worrying about breaking anything or tearing stuff up, because I can definitely control this a lot better. I really think that it is going to pay off in the long run for us, because it will definitely get us into the no-till plan that we have. And I definitely am going to enjoy this.
Thanks again to CobraHead for sending us this tool. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to use code EXOTICGARDENING for 10% off. See you next time.